Hello students, I hope you all are keeping fine. Today we will start with a new unit, that is unit 4, Myths and Legends. You all may remember some details from stage 3 unit on the genre myth and legend. They are stories to explain life or inspire us with feats of heroism. We all have our own regional or local myths and legendary stories which are narrated and are believed to be true and have passed on to generations. Now, when we look at page 55, welcome to Olympus. This is an extract from a book of ancient Greek myths and legends written from the point of view of Zeus, the ruler of the Olympian gods. In this opening of the book, Zeus sets the scene for the stories he will tell about the other gods and goddesses, many of whom are related to him. Here, as we skim through the text, we find that the narrator, that is Zeus, is welcoming the reader. And here he describes about himself that he is the ruler of gods and goddesses, the bringer of light. He also has two children named Apollo and Artemis, who are also gods and goddesses. He also points out Pegasus and his chariot, and that he is on Mount Olympus. Now, let us see what is a myth. The word myth is derived from the Greek word mythos, which means story. Myth is a traditional story without an author that is usually intended to teach a lesson, explain one of the many mysteries of life, explain a phenomenon of nature, describe the customs, institutions, or religious rites of people. They usually have supernatural gods and goddesses as characters, fantastical creatures, and are believed to be true. Sometimes a myth is loosely based on a real event and has been created to teach people something very important and meaningful. Example: the god of thunder, how rabbit brought fire to the people. Let us now see what is a legend. Legend is a very old story or set of stories from ancient times, not always true, that people tell about a famous event or person. Legends are also fictitious, but then origins are thought to be based on some truth. Originally, legends specifically referred to the fantastical life stories of saints, example, Joan of Arc, but today they refer to fantastical life stories of anyone or anything well known. Legends have a real hero who is the main character, and he or she overcomes difficulties, often a monster. Example: the Yeti or Bigfoot, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Features of myths and legends. Let us see the difference between myths and legends. Myths. Myths are stories set in the ancient past to explain the world and events that people didn't understand, such as floods, earthquakes, or how the world began. The plot often involves gods or supernatural beings and unbelievable events not based on anything factual. Whereas legends are stories passed from one person to person based on something that once possibly happened, with heroic characters, fantastical places, and unlikely events. The plot focuses on a main character who overcomes difficulties, often a monster. Can also be about places, objects, and animals. The list which you see on your screen are the features of myths and legends. As we skim through the text, Welcome to Olympus, we will have to identify who the narrator is. Is it in the first person or third person narrative? We also notice that the extract reads like dialogue, but it is punctuated like narrative. Dialogue is less formal than narrative text. The features that make the extract like dialogue is the use of personal pronouns, that is we, possessive adjective, my, and addressing readers directly as if he is speaking to them. We also find the use of direct speech, questions to readers, exclamation marks, and contractions. Direct and reported speech. Direct speech directly records the actual words spoken by the person. When someone reports what someone else said, we call it reported or indirect speech. Let us look at one or two examples of a direct speech and an indirect speech. First example, Zeus announced, "This is my mountain." This is in the direct speech, and here, after the verb announced, we add a comma, and the actual words spoken by Zeus are put in between the speech marks or quotation marks, and it begins with a capital letter and ends with a full stop. When we are changing it into the indirect speech, we remove the comma and the speech marks and we add the word that, and the verbs are changed into the past tense. So we get the sentence as Zeus announced that it was his mountain. The next example, "You are in ancient Greece," said Zeus. The indirect speech, Zeus said that we were in ancient Greece. Now let us look at the story in page 60, The Cat Who Came Indoors. This story tells us how the wild cat became domesticated. As we read through the story, we have to be able to identify whether it is a myth or a legend by referring to the features of myth and legend. Wordplay in the story mimics how a storyteller would say the words aloud, using various techniques to bring the story to life. Some of the techniques used are exclamations to express the cat's feelings or emotions, use of italics in some words to cue the readers to focus on the pronunciation or sound of words that are not standard English. Who is a hero? A hero is an imaginary character who has triumphed over problems or enemies. A hero can also be a real person who has acted bravely or shown extraordinary skills. A hero can be anyone male or female, young or old. He or she is a role model. Now, there are some people whom we refer to them as unsung hero or heroes. Unsung hero means someone who does great deeds but receives little or no recognition for them. Before reading the extract from a modern retelling in pages 64 and 65, first try pronouncing the unfamiliar names given in page 64. Let us read. Beowulf, Beowulf, Hrothgar, Hrothgar, Heorot, Heorot, Yeats, Yeats, Hylek, Hylek, Ecgtheow, Ecgtheow. As you read aloud the extract, Beowulf arrives. Note the use of Old English and the style of speech, whether it is formal or informal, polite or impolite, or is it respectful. At the end of your reading, you should be able to identify whether this extract is a myth or a legend, and also be able to describe Beowulf. Now let us look at the subject-verb agreement. The subject of the sentence is the focus of the sentence or who is doing the action. Example, Beowulf carried a richly decorated shield. Here this sentence is talking about Beowulf and he has done the action. So Beowulf is the subject. Now to identify whether the subject is singular or plural, let us look at two examples. A. Beowulf won the battle. This sentence is talking about Beowulf only, so the subject is singular. Let us see number B. Beowulf and Grendel won the battle. Here the sentence is talking about Beowulf and Grendel, so the subject is plural. Now writers used different sentence type to make it interesting for different purposes. Questions are used to find an answer. Statements are used to give information or facts. Command or requests are used to give orders or instructions. Build a short screenplay. We understand characters in books from the narrative and dialogue. In films, we find out about the characters from how they act, move, and speak. Cartoon strips use speech bubbles and pictures to tell the story. When we look at the first picture, bubbles with pointers are used to show the thought of Hrothgar. In the second picture, punctuation mark and capitalized words are used to show emotion or expression and sound effect. In the third picture, speech pointers are used to show the dialogue of the character and choral speaking. Film scripts are planned to work out where the actors will stand and move, written with minimal notes. Write your own myth or legend. First of all, decide what you are going to write, whether it is a myth or a legend, using a diagram to plan your outline. If it is a myth, explain a natural event, choose suitable characters, plot how it will work out. If you are going to write a legend, invent a hero and a problem, describe the impossible task or challenge, plot how he or she succeeds. After you decide what to write, draft your story with the following tips. Include some key features of either a myth or legend. Use a mixture of direct and reported speech. Make your dialogue realistic and lively. Add storytelling techniques like repetition, sound effects, and exclamations. Use a variety of sentence types. Check your grammar and spellings. Now you have a myth or a legend story of your own. With this, we come to the end of our unit. So stay healthy and stay safe.